Hi everyone, welcome to Market This Week. And this was week ended 17th of November 2017. We have the weekly chart of Nifty in front of us, and we clearly see a long tail, which suggests that we had a bounce back. Well, we did have a bounce back, which was quite sharp on especially Thursday, followed by a gap up opening, which we saw on during Friday's trade. However, Friday kind of ended on the lower note, slipping from the intraday highs. The opening itself was quite strong, thanks to something like rating agencies uh, suggesting the fact that the country is growing really well, upgrading the status of the country's economy. Nevertheless, prices behave really well. Prices bounce back sharp. We do see a small cluster of candles over here where kind of short-term resistance comes in close to that 10,380, 370, 360 zone. So that's a short-term resistance zone for sure. We also do see three, four candles, small candles making a cluster here as well. So definitely 380, 370 zone is the short-term resistance above which you would expect the index to inch further up for a possible test of 10,500. Um, in my last market this week, we closely looked into a possibility of a trap, which was not a trap at all, and actually the index further came down. However, this move that we saw on Thursday and Friday is quite encouraging. This is a 60-minute chart of Nifty Spot, and we can see after Friday's opening how the index actually slipped after the opening from the day's high. However, prices are holding fairly well above all my moving averages, especially the exponential 55 period, which is in blue. Would expect the bias on the upside to continue as long as these averages are not violated. On the upside, definitely a move above 10,320.25 will set in some fresh momentum. As I do this recording today on Sunday night, I just checked the SGX Nifty and it was around 20 odd points up. So we can expect a kind of bullish stance, fairly marginal positive opening on Monday's trade. Uh, let's look at Bank Nifty. Bank Nifty was is actually, as you recall, was outperforming the overall markets for quite some time. Nifty, however, corrected quite sharply for consecutive 7 days, but Bank Nifty held fairly well. It was a mixed space thanks to few PSU banking stocks like State Bank of India. Friday's move was quite a sharp gap up, hitting all-time highs. Again, the same story, slipping from the day's high. But as you can clearly see, the charts are clean. This is the weekly chart of Bank Nifty. Don't see any signs of possible top out on my weekly charts, which suggests the fact that this uptrend in Bank Nifty is here to stay for some more time. So if that is to be right, then Nifty would definitely continue to find support from its highest weighted sector, that's the banking space. Let's look into how the indices have fared last week. We see Realty, PSU Bank, and Bank Nifty. As you can see, support from the banking stocks kicked in really well last week, followed by financial services, again private banks. So it was all throughout the banks which supported the Nifty really well. We have the Realty. Let's quickly check at the constituents of this space, especially the weekly charts. Um, DLF, exceptional move that we found last week, which was a continuation of the move that we found a couple of weeks back. I've got some simple projections on the Fibonacci drawn over here, which suggests 230 is the immediate target for the stock over here. Monthly charts, however, is kind of a turnaround story. Stock is trying its best to move into a long-term uptrend. On the short-term time frame, I'm looking at the daily chart. I see a nice order holding well above my moving averages. Got a breakout in our hands. Momentum is high. Volume supporting. This stock is probably all headed for a 230, if not further more. However, structurally, there are a couple of stocks which you really like within the real estate. That's, I think, just a couple of them. That's one, Godrej Properties over here, and the other one is Oberoi Realty. The others, I generally look at them as more of a trading bet. But if you want to have any real estate stock in your portfolio for a medium to long-term point of view, then I'll definitely go ahead with Oberoi Realty and the second best would be Godrej Properties. Both of them are in an uptrend, are a little stretched on the upside, have possibility of probably coming down a little bit for a short-term correction. Look to buy within my moving average band. So Oberoi Realty, I'll keep a close watch at 425, and Godrej, I'll be keeping a close watch close to that 600 mark. That's the real estate space. Few odd stocks which I would like to share with you in this market this week. Firstly, from the pharma space, I've been looking at Ajanta Pharma. Well, let's first look at the long-term story. Big sell-off, right? From the highs of close to 2200, close to the 2200, 2120. The stock has come down all the way lows to 1120. So we've got a stock which is kind of halved. Back to its lows where it was during Jan 2016. Um, Indicators are oversold for sure. Stock is buying some time. Let's look at the weekly chart. We can see some consolidation. Is this accumulation? Chances are high because I see some nice spikes in the cash market volumes, which suggests that institutions are interested at this price range. I see my CCI indicator improving well, which suggests the fact that the momentum is kicking in slowly, steadily for sure. Now let's look at the daily chart. We've got a breakout. We've got a 3-4 bar breakout, and once it takes out that 1275, 1280 zone, you've got a clean breakout in our hands. I've got a nice squeeze on my Bollinger Band indicator, which suggests the fact that this contraction is all set to move. The movement hopefully will come on the upside, keeping in mind how the prices are behaving, keeping in mind how the volumes are behaving with every time prices going up. So this is one stock you should keep in mind from a medium to long term point of view. The other two, I've got a long trade in CET on my recent season lifetime portfolio. This is a season pick CET. Nice. Let's look at the long term picture. Nice and clean uptrend, higher highs, higher lows. This is the monthly chart. Weekly chart suggests a consolidation after a short-term dip. Buying some time, beautiful pinch and squeeze on my short-term Bollinger Band. Got a breakout above that 1800 mark, which actually kind of teased on Friday's trade. Entered a long trade over here. I anticipate this breakout to shape up and probably the stock to inch further higher upsides. On the downside, as long as 1680, these are the current lows hold, I think this stock is well set for a breakout on the upside. The other one, though not so liquid in the cash market, but seems like a good candidate for a nice breakout, is Oracle Financial Services. Let's look at the monthly chart. You can't ask anything better than this. Buying time right at the life highs. So if you have a breakout above 3750, 3780, we got a stock which is going to go to a new orbit altogether. Weekly charts clearly suggest the fact that it's buying time. Indicators, moving averages are still holding well. So what I like is in the daily chart, a breakout above that 3700, 370405 in the cash market. We've got a clean breakout stock in our hands. The only caveat to this entire possibility is the lack of volumes, close to just 23,000 shares traded on an average. That's the monthly average. Friday it had only 12,000 shares. So this is one stock which is not very liquid. So this is one pick that you need to keep in your cash portfolio for quite some time. Now, moving down from a medium to long-term holding, let's look into few short-term trades which I'm keeping a close watch on this week. Starting off with Havells. Havells is in an uptrend. I like the fact that all my moving averages have come together just like kind of an alumni meet. They don't stand each other for long. So whenever these moving averages come very close to each other, prices tend to move really sharp. So keeping in mind that the weekly charts are in an uptrend, the monthly charts holding really well into an uptrend, I expect the breakout to come on the upside. Back to the daily chart, I sense that if we have a move above that 513, 513 and a half mark, we might expect this stock to inch further up for a possible test of that 540 zone. The entire possibility negates itself if Thursday's low, which is that 496, is given away. Let's look at Grasim. Short-term correction back to its previous, short-term correction back to its previous price cluster over here. This is where It bought some time earlier before the big breakout. Now back to those zone. We expect some support to come in. A beautiful inside candle suggests the fact, which is kind of a doji, suggests the fact that we've got a possible breakout in our hands once it goes about Friday's high, which is close to 1194. This will be a short-term bounce back for Grasim on the upside. Support from indicators are not that strong, but yes, oversold bounce back is what I'm looking at Grasim. The other one is relatively better off, which is Siemens. However, the trend is down. This is a contra bet. I see some divergences happening with my indicators, and for last 3 days, kind of made a consolidation. And I sense that if it moves above that 1205 level on the upside, we can get a short-term bounce back. Havells Grasim structurally is better than Siemens because both of them are in an uptrend. Siemens is in a downtrend, so it's more of a contra bet. So if I get this move, I'll probably take it out as soon as possible. And the last one for this market this week, from a short-term point of view, I'm looking at IGL. Again, an inside candle day, an uptrending stock, oversold, all set for a bounce back. You look at the stock, if it moves above Friday's high, which is close to 304.75, 305, you can expect a move which will take the stock close to that 315 on the upside. So 4 stocks I'm keeping a close watch from short-term point of view. Nice structure in Havells, Grasim and IGL. Siemens is more like a contra bet, and from a medium to long-term point of view, Ajanta Pharma, Oracle Financial Services and CET. Thank you. This was Market This Week for 17th November 2017. I really appreciate the way you've been sending me those feedbacks and suggestions. Keeps me ticking every Sunday night to make this video for you. Thank you. As always, trade well, trade wise.